On the evening of March 18th, an Iranian ballistic missile launch initiated a sudden strike aimed at the coast of Qatar. The target was Ras Laffan Industrial City, a massive energy complex. This single location accounts for roughly 17 to 20% of the entire global supply of liquefied natural gas, or LNG. LNG is natural gas cooled to a liquid state for easier storage and transport. Defense reporting indicates a volley of 5 incoming ballistic missiles was fired at the facility. Despite an advanced air defense network, the attack caused extensive physical damage to the infrastructure. Out of 5 incoming threats, 1 missile successfully bypassed the defensive shield and reached its target. This breach forced defense analysts to reevaluate how Western missile defense systems handle evolving aerospace threats. The regional defense architecture relies heavily on U.S.-made Patriot systems. These batteries operate alongside THAAD and Aero systems to create a layered defensive umbrella. This layered architecture is strictly optimized to track and intercept standard, predictable incoming projectiles. Analysts suspect Iran bypassed this network using a maneuverable reentry vehicle, or Marv. A Marv is a ballistic missile warhead capable of shifting its flight path autonomously before impact. Older generation ballistic missiles act largely like thrown rocks, guided entirely by gravity once their fuel burns. By contrast, a Marv is engineered to actively complicate and break the predictive mathematical calculations that Patriot and THAAD interceptors rely on. To see why Patriot misses, we must look at how it calculates an interception. This diagram shows a standard ballistic missile launch. The weapon follows a fixed, predictable parabolic flight path dictated strictly by physical laws. The defense system's radar paints the incoming threat, instantly measuring its initial velocity and angle of ascent. With that initial data, the system's targeting computers project the exact real-time approach for the remainder of the flight. This generates a firing solution, a set of spatial coordinates identifying the exact point in space where the interceptor and the target will collide. This entire process requires strict trajectory prediction and flawless timing. Traditional missile defense is essentially a complex exercise in orbital math, entirely dependent on the target remaining a passive object falling toward Earth. The critical window is the terminal phase, the final, downward segment of a missile's flight as it plunges toward its target. This is exactly where Marv hardware changes the physics of the engagement. A Marv does not passively fall, it actively steers itself during this final descent. The warhead executes rapid horizontal and vertical adjustments, snapping left, right, or pulling upward. These aerodynamic maneuvers occur at extremely high speeds, deep within the atmosphere. The immediate physical consequence is that the actual flight path abandons the projected parabolic arc. The incoming threat stops being a predictable falling object and becomes an active, erratic flyer just seconds before impact. We can see the systemic effect this has by looking at how a Patriot or THAAD radar computer processes this data. This diagram compares the two profiles. The defense software is programmed to continuously check the actual radar track of the target against its internal predictive model. When the Marv executes a sudden shift, the system is forced to discard its existing model because the target is no longer where the math says it should be. The computer must immediately process the new heading and generate a completely new firing solution. Every recalculation burns through a strictly limited resource, the intercept time window. Because the Marv continuously changes direction, the defensive computer enters a catastrophic loop of projecting a path, watching the target deviate, and trashing the calculation. This forces the interceptor crews to try and update their firing solutions within heavily compressed fractions of a second. Modeling these erratic, high-speed aerodynamic adjustments in real time is currently the most difficult computational challenge for these defensive networks. As a result, an interceptor may launch toward a spatial coordinate that the maneuvering warhead has already vacated. The Marv defeats the layered defense net. It achieves this not by outrunning the interceptor, but by weaponizing unpredictability to crash the guiding mathematics. There is a recurring misconception within general defense circles regarding how advanced a system needs to be to evade modern shields. A common assumption is that penetrating these nets requires a hypersonic glide vehicle traveling at Mach 5 or faster. Defense analysts note that extreme hypersonic speed is a false prerequisite for successful evasion. This diagram illustrates a flat, low-altitude hypersonic glide path alongside a high-arcing standard ballistic trajectory equipped with a Marv. High-speed terminal maneuvering is mathematically sufficient to complicate interception. During final approach, both flight profiles trigger the exact same predictive failure in the defense algorithm. Because terminal maneuvering independently crashes the math, the technological barrier to penetrating Western defenses is considerably lower than widely assumed. This brings the technical reality back to the physical aftermath at Qatar's industrial hub. The regional crisis deepened when further attacks were reported around Ras Laffan on March 19th. These strikes expose a massive vulnerability for the world's most critical energy infrastructure. This specific incident provides a confirmed, real-world demonstration of major advances in Iran's terminal phase guidance and warhead control. This technical capability directly alters the regional calculus for defending high-value strategic targets. Until air defense systems can proactively process extreme high-G maneuvers in real time, facilities protected solely by trajectory predicting software will remain mathematically exposed.